I became a foster dad to a troubled teen. His only possession was a torn photo of his birth mother. I showed it to my sister. Her face went pale. "Oh my God," she whispered, "I know her." The 15-year-old foster kid I took in had only one possession, a worn photograph of his birth mother. He guarded it like his life depended on it, staring at it every night before bed. I thought it was just a sad reminder of abandonment. Then my sister saw the photo and went white as a sheet and whispered, "Oh my God, I know her. She didn't abandon him. She disappeared." Before we dive into this incredible story, I'd love to know, where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more amazing stories every day. Now, let's head back to the moment that changed everything. My name is Gavin Parker, and at 35, I had never imagined I would be sitting across from a social worker discussing the possibility of becoming a foster parent to a teenage boy. But life has a way of taking you down paths you never expected. And after losing my wife, Julie, to a subtle cardiac arrest 2 years earlier, I found myself searching for a way to fill the enormous hole her absence had left in my life. I'm a high school history teacher, and over the years I had seen too many kids slip through the cracks. Bright, capable students whose potential was being wasted because they didn't have stable homes or adults who believed in them. Julie and I had always planned to have children, but she was gone before we had the chance. After she died, I thought that dream had died with her. But then I realized that maybe I could still make a difference for a kid who needed someone to believe in them. Shawn Murphy arrived on a rainy Thursday afternoon in October, carrying everything he owned in a single black garbage bag. He was tall for his age, probably close to 6 feet, with dark hair that hung in his eyes and a defensive posture that screamed, "Don't get too close." He looked like he was ready to bolt at the first sign of trouble. "Shawn, Linda, my caseworker, said gently, "This is Gavin. He's going to be your foster dad." Shawn's response was a barely audible grunt. He would make eye contact, and when I offered to help him with his bag, he pulled it closer to his chest like I might try to steal it. I could see that the photo showed a young woman with long, dark hair and a beautiful smile. She was holding a something outside the frame. It was the kind of picture that captured pure joy, which made its presence in this sad situation even more heartbreaking. "She's beautiful," I said gently. "You look like her." Shawn's expression softened slightly. "She left when I was 5, just disappeared one day. I've been in foster care ever since." Over the next few months, I watched Shawn's relationship with that photograph. He would look at it every morning when he woke up, and every night before he went to sleep. Sometimes I would catch him staring at it with an expression of such longing that it made my chest ache. He would whisper to it sometimes when he thought I couldn't hear, little conversations with the mother who wasn't there. Getting Shawn to open up was like trying to coax a feral cat to trust you. He was polite but distant, answering my questions with the minimum number of words possible. He did his homework without being asked, kept his room clean, and followed all the house rules, but there was no warmth in any of it. The only time I saw any real emotion from Shawn was when it came to that photograph. One evening, about 3 weeks after he arrived, I heard a commotion from his room. When I knocked on his door, I found him frantically searching through his belongings, his face pale with panic. "I can't find it," he said, his voice shaking. "I can't find the picture." We searched his room thoroughly and finally found the photograph wedged between his mattress and the wall. The relief on Shawn's face when I handed it back to him was profound. "I thought I lost her," he whispered, clutching the photo to his chest. That night was the first time Shawn really talked to me. He told me about the few memories he had of his mother, how she used to sing to him at bedtime, how she would make pancakes in funny shapes on Saturday mornings, how she always smelled like vanilla perfume. "I used to think she would come back," he said, staring at the photograph. "Every time I got moved to a new foster home, I thought maybe she would find me there. But it's been 10 years now. I guess she just didn't want me anymore." "You don't know that," I said. "Maybe something happened. Maybe she's looking for you too." Shawn looked at me with the skeptical expression of someone who had learned not to hope for things that seemed impossible. "Yeah, maybe," but I could tell he didn't believe it. As the weeks turned into months, Shawn and I developed a routine that worked for both of us. He began to share small details about his day, his classes, his thoughts on the books he was reading. I learned that Shawn was incredibly intelligent and had a dry humor that occasionally broke through his serious demeanor. But he was also deeply wounded. He had nightmares sometimes, and I would hear him crying in his room late at night, always clutching that photograph. He never talked about these episodes, and I didn't push him. The breakthrough in our relationship came 4 months after Shawn arrived. He had gotten into a fight at school and was suspended for 3 days. "I'm sorry," he said when I picked him up. "I know you probably don't want me here anymore." "Why would you think that?" I asked. "Because that's what always happens. I mess up, and then I get moved to a different home." I pulled the car over and turned to look at him. "Shawn, I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you. We're family now, and families stick together through the tough times." For the first time since he had arrived, Shawn looked at me with something that might have been hope. "Really? Really?" I said. "And if you want to stay, if this feels like home to you, then we can make it permanent." "You mean like adoption?" I mean exactly like adoption, I said. For a moment, Shawn's carefully constructed emotional walls crumbled completely. I'd want that, he said quietly. I'd want that a lot. It was around this time that my sister Barbara came to visit. Barbara is 3 years older than me and works as a social worker in Denver. She had been incredibly supportive after Julie's passing, and she had been equally supportive of my decision to become a foster parent. Barbara arrived on a Friday evening in February, bringing her usual whirlwind of energy and warmth. She's one of those people who can make anyone feel comfortable within minutes of meeting them, and I was curious to see how Shawn would react to her. To my surprise, Shawn seemed genuinely interested in meeting her. Over dinner, Barbara regaled us with stories from her work and her travels, and Shawn listened with genuine interest. He even volunteered some stories of his own. It was the most animated I had ever seen him. After dinner, we moved to the living room, and Shawn excused himself to go upstairs and work on a history project. Barbara and I settled in with coffee to catch up. He's wonderful, Gavin, Barbara said. I can see why you've fallen in love with him. He's got such an old soul, but there's still so much hurt there. He's been through a lot, I said, but he's starting to trust me, starting to believe that might be permanent. What about his birth family? Barbara asked. Has there been any contact? His father was never in the picture, I said, and his mother disappeared when he was 5. He has this photograph of her that he treasures, but there's been no contact since she left. That's so sad, Barbara said. I can't imagine what would make a mother just abandon her child like that. Can I see the photo? Barbara asked. I'm curious what she looks like. I went upstairs and knocked on Shawn's door. He was sitting at his desk, working on his project with the photograph propped up next to a study companion. Barbara was wondering if she could see the picture of your mom. Would that be okay? Shawn looked protective for a moment, then nodded. Yeah, I guess that's okay. He handed me the photograph carefully, and I carried it downstairs to where Barbara was waiting. Here she is, I said, handing Barbara the worn picture. Shawn's mom. Barbara took the photograph and looked at it casually at first, then more intently. I watched as her expression changed from mild curiosity to confusion, to something that looked like shock. The color drained from her face completely. Her hands started trembling as she stared at the photograph. Oh my God, Gavin, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Oh my God, Gavin. What? I asked, alarmed by her reaction. What is it? Barbara looked up at me with wide, frightened eyes. I know her, she said, her voice shaking. This is Lisa, Lisa Brennan. She was my best friend in college for 4 years. We were inseparable. This is definitely her. The words hit me like a physical blow. What do you mean? You know her? I mean, I know her, Barbara said, still staring at the photograph in disbelief. We were roommates at Colorado State for 4 years. We were inseparable. This is definitely her. I felt like the world had tilted off its axis, but that's impossible. This picture is 10 years old. Shawn's mother abandoned him. She didn't abandon anyone, Gavin. Lisa didn't abandon anyone. She disappeared 10 years ago. She had a complete mental breakdown and just disappeared. I've been looking for her ever since. The silence that followed was deafening. Upstairs, Shawn was working on his homework, completely unaware that his entire world was about to change. Tell me everything, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Barbara set the photograph down on the coffee table with shaking hands. Lisa was brilliant, she began. She was studying psychology, wanted to help kids with trauma. She was funny, kind, incredibly smart, but she also struggled with depression, anxiety. It got worse in our senior year. What happened? After graduation, she moved back home to take care of her sick mother. We stayed in touch for a while, but then her texts became strange, paranoid. She was convinced people were following her, that her phone was tapped. I was worried, but I was starting my master's program and I didn't realize how bad things had gotten. Barbara paused, wiping tears from her eyes. The last time I heard from her was 10 years ago. She called me in the middle of the night, crying, saying she had done something terrible and that she had to disappear. She said people were after her, that she wasn't safe. I tried to calm her down, tried to get her to tell me where she was, but she just kept saying she was sorry and that she loved me. And then nothing. She hung up and I never heard from her again. I filed a missing person report, hired a private investigator, searched everywhere I could think of. It was like she had vanished into thin air. I stared at the photograph, trying to process what Barbara was telling me. But Shawn, if she disappeared 10 years ago and Shawn was 5 when she left, the timeline matches, Barbara said quietly. Gavin, I think Lisa had a complete psychotic break. She probably didn't abandon Shawn on purpose. She probably thought she was protecting him from whatever she believed was threatening her. The implications of this revelation were staggering. Shawn had spent 10 years believing his mother had abandoned him because she didn't want him, when in reality, she had been suffering from severe mental illness. We have to find her, I said. I've been trying to find her for 10 years. But now we have something I didn't have before. We have Shawn. We have proof that she was here, in this area 10 years ago. That's a starting point. What do we tell Shawn? Barbara looked toward the stairs where we could hear the faint sound of Shawn moving around in his room. "We tell him the truth," she said. "We tell him that his mother didn't abandon him. We tell him that she was sick, and that she's probably still out there somewhere, needing help. What if we can't find her? What if she's—" "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," Barbara said firmly. "But Shawn deserves to know the truth about what happened. He deserves to know that his mother loved him." That night, after Barbara had gone to bed in the guest room, I sat in my kitchen staring at that worn photograph and thinking about the boy upstairs who had been carrying a burden of abandonment that wasn't even real. I thought about all the nights I had heard him crying, all the times I had seen him staring at that picture with such longing, believing that his mother had chosen to leave him. The next morning, I made the decision to tell Shawn what we had discovered. I found him in the kitchen, eating cereal and reading a book for English class. "Shawn, I need to talk to you about something important." He looked up from his book, immediately alert to the serious tone in my voice. "What's wrong? Am I in trouble?" "No, you're not in trouble. It's about your mother. About the photograph." Shawn's entire body went rigid. "What about it?" "Barbara recognized her," I said gently. "Your mother. She knew her in college." Shawn stared at me for a long moment, as if he couldn't quite process what I was saying. "She knew my mom?" "Yes. And Shawn, there's something you need to know. Your mother didn't abandon you. She disappeared because she was very sick. She had a mental illness that made her believe she was in danger." I watched as a dozen different emotions crossed Shawn's face: confusion, hope, disbelief, anger. "You're lying," he said finally. "She left me. She didn't want me anymore." "That's not true," I said firmly. "Barbara told me about your mother. She was kind, intelligent, and she loved helping children. She would never have left you unless she thought she had to protect you." Shawn was crying now, tears streaming down his face. "But she's been gone for 10 years. If she didn't want to leave me, why hasn't she come back?" "Because she's still sick," I said gently. "And she probably doesn't know how to find you." "But Shawn, we're going to look for her. Barbara and we're going to do everything we can to find your mother." "What if she doesn't remember me?" Shawn whispered as we looked through some old records Barbara had found. "She'll remember you," I said. "Mothers don't forget their children, even when they're sick." "What if she's different? What if the sickness changed her? Then we'll love her anyway, and we'll help her get the treatment she needs." The breakthrough came 5 weeks into our search. Barbara had been working with a social worker friend who specialized in tracking missing persons with mental illness. They had found a woman named Lisa Brennan, who had been living in a supervised group home for women with chronic mental illness about 3 hours away in a small town called Cedar Falls. "She's been there for 2 years, Barbara told me over the phone, her voice shaking with excitement and nervousness. "The description matches, and, Gavin, she's been asking about a little boy named Shawn." The staff thought it was a delusion. But now we know it wasn't. I finished. That evening, I sat Shawn down to tell him what we had found. He listened in complete silence as I explained about the group home, about his mother asking about him, about the possibility that we had actually found her. "She's been looking for me too?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "It sounds like it," I said. "Shawn, we need to be prepared. Your mother has been very sick for a long time. She might not be the same person you remember from when you were 5. "I don't care," Shawn said fiercely. "I just want to see her. I want to know she's okay." Barbara and I spent the next week making arrangements. We spoke with the director of the group home, a kind woman named Dr. Patricia Wells, who explained Lisa's condition and what we could expect. "Lisa has been diagnosed with severe postpartum depression that evolved into psychotic episodes," Dr. Wells explained during our phone conversation. "She's been stable on medication for the past year, but she still experiences some paranoid episodes. She talks about her son constantly, but we weren't sure if he was real or part of her delusions." "He's real," I said. "And he's been looking for her too." "This is incredible," Dr. Wells said. "Lisa is going to be over the moon, but we need to be very careful about how we handle this reunion. Too much excitement or stress could trigger an episode." We arranged to visit on a Saturday morning. The drive to Cedar Falls was the longest 3 hours of my life. Shawn sat in the passenger seat, clutching that worn photograph, alternating between excitement and terror. "What if she doesn't recognize me?" he asked for the 100th time. "She'll recognize you," Barbara said from the back seat. "You look just like her." The Willowbrook Group Home was a modest, well-maintained building surrounded by gardens. Dr. Wells met us in the parking lot, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a gentle manner. "Before we go in, I want you to understand that Lisa has good days and bad days. Today is a good day, which is why we scheduled the visit, but she might seem different from what you remember, Shawn. The medication helps with her symptoms, but it also affects her personality somewhat." Shawn nodded, though I could see his hands shaking. "She's in the common room," Dr. Wells continued. "I've told her that some people are here to see her, but I haven't told her who. I thought it would be better if you could introduce yourselves." We followed Dr. Wells through the front door and down a hallway lined with cheerful artwork. The common room was bright and airy with comfortable furniture and large windows that looked out onto the gardens. And there, sitting in a chair by the window, was the woman from Shawn's photograph. She was older, of course, and thinner than in the picture. Her dark hair was shorter and streaked with gray, and there was a fragility about her that spoke of years of struggle, but it was unmistakably her, the same beautiful eyes, the same gentle features that Shawn had inherited. She looked up when we entered the room, and her gaze immediately fixed on Shawn. For a moment, she just stared, as if she couldn't quite believe what she was seeing. "Shawn, my Shawn, is that really you?" Shawn couldn't speak. He just stood there, tears streaming down his face, clutching the photograph to his chest. "Oh my God," Lisa said, rising from her chair on unsteady legs. "Oh my God, you're so big. You're so grown up. I've missed you so much, baby. I've missed you every single day." She moved toward him slowly, as if she was afraid he might disappear if she moved too quickly. When she reached him, she raised a shaking hand to touch his face. "You're real," she whispered. "You're really here." "Mom," Shawn said, and the word came out like a sob. "I thought you didn't want me anymore." "Oh, sweetheart," Lisa said, pulling him into her arms. "I never stopped wanting you. I never stopped loving you. I got so sick, baby. I got so confused and scared, and I thought I was protecting you by staying away." They held each other and cried, and I had to wipe tears from my own eyes as I watched this reunion that had been 10 years in the making. "I kept your picture," Shawn said, showing her the worn photograph. "I looked at it every day." Lisa took the picture with trembling hands, staring at it as if it was the most precious thing in the world. "I remember this day," she said. "We were at the park, and you had just learned to go down the big slide by yourself. You were so proud." "I remember that too," Shawn said. "I remember you pushing me on the swings." "I remember everything about you," Lisa said. "Your favorite bedtime story, how you liked your pancakes cut into dinosaur shapes, the way you used to sing in the bathtub. I never forgot any of it." Barbara stepped forward then, and Lisa looked at her with confusion for a moment before recognition dawned. "Barbara," she said incredulously. "Barbara, is that you?" "Hi, Lisa," Barbara said, her own voice thick with emotion. "I have been looking for you for 10 years. I'm so sorry," Lisa said, reaching for Barbara's hand. "I'm so sorry I disappeared. I was so scared, so confused. I thought people were trying to hurt Shawn, and I thought the only way to keep him safe was to stay away." "It's okay," Barbara said. "You were sick. It wasn't your fault." We spent the next 2 hours in that common room, slowly piecing together the story of what had happened 10 years ago. Lisa's mental illness had manifested gradually after Shawn's birth, but she had managed to hide it for several years. The final break had come when her paranoid delusions convinced her that dangerous people were after her and Shawn. "I thought if I stayed away, they would leave him alone," she explained. "I thought he would be safer without me. I never meant for it to be forever. I thought I would get better and come back for him." "But you did get better," Shawn said. "You're better now, right?" Lisa smiled sadly. "I'm better than I was, sweetheart. The medication helps a lot, but I'll always have this illness. I'll always need help managing it." "That's okay," Shawn said firmly. "I don't care. I just want you in my life." Dr. Wells had been observing the reunion from a respectful distance, and she approached us now with a gentle smile. "This has been wonderful," she said, "but I think should probably wrap up for today. This has been a lot of excitement for Lisa, and we want to make sure she doesn't get overwhelmed." "Can I come back?" Shawn asked immediately. "Can I visit again?" "Of course you can," Dr. Wells said. "We'll work out a regular visiting schedule." "And Lisa, how do you feel about that?" "I would love that more than anything," Lisa said, taking Shawn's hands in hers. "But Shawn, I want you to understand something. I can't be your mom the way I used to be. I can't take care of you or give you a home. I'm still learning how to take care of myself." "I know," Shawn said. "I have Gavin now. He's going to adopt me, but I still want you to be my mom too. I want both of you." Lisa looked at me for the first time since we had arrived, and I could see the gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you," she said simply. "Thank you for taking care of my boy." "Thank you for raising such an incredible kid," I replied. As we prepared to leave, Lisa hugged Shawn one more time. "I love you, Shawn," she said. "I never stop loving you, not for one single day." "I love you too, Mom," Shawn said, "and I'm going to keep visiting you. We're going to be a family again, just a different kind of family." The drive home was quiet, but it was a peaceful quiet rather than the tense silence of the morning. Shawn stared out the window, processing everything that had happened. "She's different," he said finally. "Yes, she is. How do you feel about that?" "Sad," he said honestly, but also relieved. "I spent so many years thinking she left because I wasn't good enough, because she didn't love me. Now I know that's not true." "It was never true," Barbara said from the back seat. "Your mother loves you more than anything in the world. She always has." Over the following months, we established a routine of visiting Lisa every other weekend. Shawn would tell her about school, about his friends, about his life with me. Lisa would share stories from her own childhood, teach him card games, and slowly, carefully, they rebuilt their relationship. It wasn't the mother-son relationship that either of them had lost 10 years ago. Lisa couldn't be the primary parent Shawn needed, and Shawn had to accept that his mother would always struggle with her illness. But it was something beautiful in its own way, a connection based on love and acceptance rather than obligation or expectation. 6 months after our first visit to Cedar Falls, I officially adopted Shawn. Lisa was there for the court hearing, having been granted permission to leave the group home for the day. She sat in the front row, crying happy tears as the judge made our family legal. "I'm so proud of you both," she told us afterwards. "Shawn, you have found yourself an amazing father. And Gavin, thank you for giving my son the life I couldn't give him. We're all family now, all of us. You, me, Shawn, Barbara. We're going to take care of each other." A year later, Lisa had progressed enough in her treatment to move into a supervised apartment program. She couldn't live independently, but she had more freedom and privacy. Shawn helped her decorate her new place, and she kept that worn photograph of the two of them on her nightstand, just like Shawn had done for so many years. "You know what's funny?" Shawn said to me one evening, as we drove home from one of our visits. "I used to think that photograph was all I had left of her, but it turns out it was just the beginning." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I spent so many years staring at that picture, trying to remember what it felt like to be loved by her. But now I know. Now I get to feel it again every time I see her." As I write this, Shawn is 17 years old and thriving. He's an honor student, he's made friends, and he's even started dating a girl from his chemistry class. He still visits his mother regularly, and their relationship continues to grow and evolve. Lisa will always struggle with her mental illness, and Barbara has still difficult days when her symptoms flare up, but she's surrounded by people who love her and understand her condition. She has her son back in her life, she has Barbara's friendship, and she has the support of a treatment team that truly cares about her well-being. Barbara often says that finding Lisa was like solving a puzzle that had been missing pieces for 10 years, but I think it was more than that. It was about understanding that families come in all shapes and sizes, and that love can survive even the most devastating circumstances. Shawn's story began with abandonment and loss, but it became a story about connection and healing. He learned that his mother's disappearance wasn't about him not being worthy of love. It was about illness, fear, and a mother's misguided attempt to protect her child. And I learned that sometimes the most broken families can become the strongest ones because they're built on choice rather than obligation, on understanding rather than expectation, and on the radical belief that everyone deserves to be loved and to belong somewhere. The worn photograph that Shawn treasured for so many years still sits on his nightstand, but now it's surrounded by new pictures, photos of our family dinners, of Lisa's birthday parties, of graduations and holidays, and ordinary moments that have become extraordinary because we're sharing them together. We didn't just find Shawn's missing mother, we found each other, and in doing so, we created something beautiful from something that had been broken for far too long. What an absolutely incredible story about the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. Shawn's journey from believing he was abandoned to discovering the truth about his mother's illness shows us that sometimes the most painful mysteries have the most beautiful solutions. What do you think about the way this family came together despite such difficult circumstances? Have you ever discovered that a painful situation had a completely different explanation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.